It was a cold evening in New York, and Daniel sat at the bar of his favorite coffee shop, absent-mindedly stirring his espresso. His father, Mr. William Carter, had passed away a week ago, leaving behind an old wooden box that Daniel hadn't bothered to open yet. He was frustrated and disappointed. His father had been a well-known businessman, yet instead of leaving him money, properties, or stocks, he left him nothing but that strange old box. "I gave everything for this family," Daniel muttered to himself, "and all I get is a useless wooden box? No inheritance? No wealth?" His bitterness wasn't just about money. He had spent years trying to prove himself to his father, hoping to earn his respect. Yet, William Carter had always been a man of wisdom rather than wealth. He had taught Daniel lessons about hard work, honesty, and patience. Lessons Daniel never cared for. Later that night, as he sat alone in his apartment, Daniel finally decided to open the box. With a sigh, he unlatched the old lock, and inside, he found a letter and a small, rusty key. Confused, he picked up the letter and started reading, "My dear son, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer in this world. I know you expected riches, but I have left you something far more valuable. This key belongs to the small cottage where you grew up. Go there and you will find what I have left for you. With love, your father." Daniel frowned. The old cottage? That place had been abandoned for years. What could possibly be there? His first instinct was to throw the letter away, but something inside him, maybe guilt, maybe curiosity, told him to go. The next morning, Daniel drove to the countryside, to the house he hadn't visited in over a decade. As he stepped inside, memories rushed back of his father reading by the fireplace, of the smell of his mother's homemade cookies, of playing in the garden as a child. The house was covered in dust, but it still held the warmth of his childhood. He walked around, looking for any sign of what his father had left him. Then he saw it. A small metal box hidden inside the old bookshelf. He inserted the key and with a click, the lid popped open. Inside, he found a second letter and a worn-out notebook. "Dear Daniel, if you have come this far, it means you are seeking something. You always believed wealth was measured in money, but life is so much more than that. I have watched you chase success, but you have forgotten the true riches of life: kindness, wisdom, patience, and love. This notebook holds the lessons I have learned throughout my life. Read it carefully, and if you truly understand it, you will never need any inheritance from me. Everything you need to succeed is already within you. Your loving father." Daniel scoffed. A notebook? Was this some kind of joke? Angry and disappointed, he stuffed it into his bag and left the house. That night, unable to sleep, he pulled out the notebook and flipped through the pages. Each page held a life lesson written by his father. Patience is the key to success. A tree doesn't grow overnight, and neither does a great man. Treat people with kindness. You never know what battles they are fighting. Money is a tool, not a purpose. Use it wisely. Happiness doesn't come from wealth. It comes from purpose. At first, Daniel rolled his eyes. He had heard these lessons all his life. But then he noticed something at the back of the notebook. A list of names and numbers. Curious, he dialed the first number. "Hello," an elderly woman answered. "Hi, my name is Daniel Carter. I found your number in my father's notebook." There was silence. Then the woman's voice trembled. "William Carter saved my life. He paid for my daughter's surgery when I had no one to turn to." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He called another number. A middle-aged man answered. "Your father?" He gave me my first job when no one else would. Because of him, I was able to build my own business. Daniel kept calling, and each person had a similar story. His father had helped people in countless ways, paying medical bills, supporting young entrepreneurs, helping the homeless. Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes. His father had been rich, not in money, but in kindness, respect, and love. For years, Daniel had been chasing wealth, thinking it would bring him happiness. But his father had already left him the greatest treasure, a legacy of wisdom and goodness. For the first time in his life, Daniel realized what true wealth meant. The next morning, he made a decision. He would carry forward his father's legacy. Instead of chasing money, he would build something meaningful. He would help people, invest in dreams, and leave behind a story worth remembering. Years later, Daniel became a successful entrepreneur. Not because he chased wealth, but because he followed the lessons in the notebook. He built businesses with integrity, helped people selflessly, and found true happiness in making a difference. One day, he sat by the same fireplace in his father's old house, flipping through the notebook, now worn from years of use. He smiled and whispered, "Thank you, Dad. This was the greatest gift of all.